Hello and welcome to Alex's Afternoon Art Show. Today we're going to be drawing Harley Quinn and we're going to be talking a little bit about lighting. It is still very hot today, so I'm in hell. Not entirely fun. I'm going to have to peel myself off this chair whenever we're done. Okay, so I've already drawn the base sketch and everything, so we don't have to do any superfluous jump cuts or anything like that. We've already done that bit, so we can just move on to the good bit in the details. Now, so what I've done is I've actually made life a little easier for myself here. I've drawn in a few like detailless features, so to speak. So I've put in the position of the nose, the mouth, the eyes, ears, and then the beginning of the hairline just there. And then yeah, I put in the simplicity of everything else. Now the shoes all just makeup. And yeah, so this is a pose of the bat, so I've left in that part, I cropped out that part of the reference because we need that bit, and that's it really, because again, I can't really pull a bat from memory, and also these hand positions are very kind of odd, so it's something that I'm gonna have to kind of work up myself there. But yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit more about lighting whenever we're getting into the actual shading bits and all that stuff, but for the most part we've got a kind of simple standing pose, nothing too crazy, just kind of simple enough. But yeah, we'll get into the details here now. Something which I actually almost forgot to mention here, as I'm drawing the nose I'll just say it, and it's that some parts of the face might look a bit strange initially, but the whole thing is you're trying to kind of get them accurate to how they look. Like here we're going to be drawing her smiling obviously, so it's a case of where whenever you actually smile your nose spreads a little bit. It's the same way whenever you make that kind of like that, you get an angry face, the same thing happens, your nose goes up and it scrunches. Same kind of thing happens a little bit whenever you're smiling. So we've kind of splayed out the nostrils a little bit here, so that's just to explain that little bit. Because yeah, some people might not do that. It's just something that over time I've decided to start doing, because yeah, it just looks better whenever you do it like that. In my opinion at least, I prefer how it looks. I am working from reference of, like on the screen I have reference going here as well. And it is my own, or one of my own drawings. It was a little poster I did of Batman villains, and so yeah, I'm kind of working from that just to kind of get the design, because I'm doing a slightly different design, not the normal design, but you'll kind of see as I'm going on, and I'll explain myself to a degree. You know, this is the thing I know people actually stress about. It's the eyes. A lot of people stress about trying to get the eyes to be to look the same as each other, and I'm not going to say that you shouldn't do it, but it's a case of where you don't need them to look the same, because it'll actually look kind of strange if eyes look the same, because on people's faces their eyes don't actually look the same. I feel like I shouldn't really have to say this, but yeah, people's eyes aren't the same, and yeah, generally speaking, some people's eyes are bigger than, like some people have lazy eyes, stuff like this, so it's a case of where the size of eyes isn't necessarily consistent. So it's something you don't worry about it, that type of thing, just kind of let it happen. If it happens, it happens, oh well. But yeah, you don't need to worry about it so much. You know, it's funny. I actually prefer the original design for Harley Quinn, but yet here I am drawing this one, which is more of the modern design. I suppose it's just I guess the more popular design for whatever reason. Yeah, I'm kind of indifferent overall, but I do generally speak that is the preferred version, to me at least, is the the original version. But yeah, like I prefer just the jester outfit as opposed to the pigtails and everything. Not huge on it, but again, this is kind of what I do. Whenever I tend to redesign stuff, I usually kind of go for a halfway house type of solution of where it keeps the spirit of both. And you'll kind of see what I mean as I go along here, and maybe a bit more, hopefully. A lot of people actually say that they hate drawing hair, which I find kind of strange because I find hair to be one of the, not necessarily the easier parts, but one of the parts that I enjoy a lot to draw, because you can just kind of do whatever you want with it, and it'll still look fine for the most part, at least. I mean, depends on what you're going for, but yeah, you can just kind of throw lines everywhere, and then it'll still look like hair. Because I mean, yeah, that's the kind of thing with hair, particularly longer hair, is that it tends to kind of just flow everywhere. And yeah, you don't necessarily need to be using like very precise shapes or any of this stuff. You can just kind of just whack all lines anywhere, and it'll still yeah, you'll still get the idea of it. Because yeah, again, that's how hair looks for the most part. So yeah. It's just kind of just finding the right places for things, I guess. So I'll just emphasize this a little bit more so that the separation of these bits comes across a little bit more. But yeah, I do quite enjoy drawing here because yeah, it gives you, I guess, a bit more freedom to just do whatever you want with it, really. Because I've said before, there's no right way to draw, but there's absolutely no right way to draw hair, specifically. Yeah, I'm taking a minor detour from the hair for a second, just so that I can kind of get the shoulders done, because the hair will sit behind the shoulders in this instance, so we don't want to create too much of an issue with drawing the hair first, or yeah, the tails first, because that'll just make life harder. So then I'll have to do a bit of guesswork later on to try and figure out where things are supposed to end. But if I do it now, then it just saves me some time later on. And that's apparently what we like to do. We like to save time, even though that's very much not what I would say art is about, for me at least. But yeah, well. We're in the business of saving time. We are making a video. Yeah, we can finally get back to finishing off the tails here, so that I can then finish off the rest of the kind of the detailing. But yeah, we've got the tails kind of lingering around now. Alright, so we've gotten the hair done, which means we can get back to doing the jacket now. And yeah, this design, again, I have said that it is a bit of a halfway house situation. And that will kind of come across, I think, maybe more in color. The fact that it's not quite the just the modern design. It's a little bit more mixed with the original. There's some elements of the original in there at least. But yeah, this is the kind of the popular design these days, anyways. So. Who am I to judge? Alright, I think it's time to get into the hands now, so this is kind of the tricky part, I think. So what? Yeah, there's gloves. There's gloves, but we're still going to need to draw the fingernails. Yeah, a lot of people kind of struggle with hands. I'm not amazing at it, but I can do hands without reference. It's just they're not quite as good as whenever I do it with reference, I find, at least. Or maybe, I don't know. I just find it a little bit more difficult without the reference. I mean, naturally, the reference does a lot to help. And also, yeah, there's like a touch of perspective going on here because the hands are clasping inwards, which you wouldn't really, if I were to kind of do them myself, would probably not come across quite as easily. But yeah, we put in little lines like this to kind of show off the bending. I don't know why I said that so weirdly, but yeah, you put in little lines like this to show off where it's bending, and yeah, it's just kind of very simple stuff like that does a lot to help show off how the hands are. Yeah, there are times whenever you need to be careful about how thick you decide to make your lines, because it can draw your eye. Again, as I said before, you need to be careful with, I think I said this in the first one actually, you need to be careful with how many lines you're adding, because it adds years. As I've heard, it can age a character where you don't want to, if you're just kind of going a bit line crazy, and not like cocaine. I feel like maybe I don't have quite as much to say during this one, but yeah, the kind of the bulk of what we're going to be talking about is the lighting, and again, we're not really going to be going into that until we get to the colours. So yeah, for a lot of the detail, I suppose I am going to be kind of quiet, but I should probably add in a little line here. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. But yeah. I can't help but get the feeling that there is something kind of weird and wrong with the face. Something's not sitting right with the face. And I'm not really quite sure what it is. Maybe I need to deepen this line a little bit more. Oh, that doesn't help. That definitely doesn't help. I don't know, it's just a bit of an odd situation I find myself in here. Not sure. Not really sure what the issue is. But yeah. Yeah, I do feel like there is something about that face which is just kind of not sitting right with me. It's all in the right areas. I don't know. Anyways, I think we'll probably do the bat first before we get down to the legs. Legs are going to be very easy. There's not really much I have to draw on the legs. Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the upper body, and that's the bat done. So now we get into the legs. Now, I need to remind myself actually later that whenever I'm going in with the dot shading, I need to make sure to make it a smaller brush size, because since she's comparatively smaller on the page than all our other ones have been so far, like Spider-Man was pretty big in the page, Batman was pretty big in the, I mean, it was the whole page. So it's a case of where we need to make sure that whenever we're drawing this, we don't make our dot brush too big, because otherwise it will just obscure everything. I think I need to maybe be at 30. 30 would probably be a good size. Yeah. Alright, I stepped away for a moment there because it was so unbelievably hot in this room that I had to stand up and walk around for a little bit in the hallway, just because the hallway is so much cooler. I also got myself an iced drink because it is very, very, very warm. But yeah, we'll get back to this. You know, funny story. A few years ago, I think it was very hot but it was obviously not this hot, because I think this is probably going to be the hottest year in a very long time. But yeah, a thing that I used to do whenever it got this hot, or whenever it got very hot, was I would make. I used to know how to make ice cream floats. Now, I don't have the ingredients to make those anymore. I mean, I kind of do. But yeah, just like the ice cream on top of a fizzy drink type of situation. But yeah, it was. They were very refreshing, I'll tell you that much. And in weather like this, it's very, very nice to just have something so unbelievably cold that it would just shiver you to the core. But I mean, that's why people always drink slushies and all this stuff. It's because it's just it just chills you to the core. But yeah, the ice cream floats, I don't have the ingredients, and funnily enough, I found that the cheaper the ingredients were, the better it tasted. Because like higher end fizzy drinks don't really accept they don't really like the bloody ice cream on it, because it just, for whatever reason, it just tastes weird whenever it's just better ingredients. It's an odd one, I don't know. I guess maybe it's because I was raised on cheap food, so that's what I like now. It is just unbelievably cheap garbage food. But yeah, I always found, yeah, it did taste a bit strange with better ingredients. Just an odd little tidbit, a odd little factoid for you. It's actually not what factoid means. Fun fact. Factoid means an incorrect fact. Still probably gonna end up saying factoid incorrectly though. It seems as though I've gone with the big goth boot aesthetic here for whatever reason, but I guess, I don't know, I guess it fits with the pre-established look that we're going for. So I guess that's what it is. I guess that's what it is. They also kind of look like just big high top shoes in the same sense. I don't know. Bit of an odd mishmash we got going on. Oh, just to kind of give you a peek behind the curtain here, since we're done the details, this might already end up being one of the longest that I've recorded, because usually the last two took I don't know, about 2 hours, roughly about 2 hours, and we're already an hour in and we've only done the details, so yikes. It usually takes me about half an hour to do these. Then again, the details have been a lot simpler on the other characters so far, so don't know. And then yeah, the colors are probably going to take a lot longer this time, although we're not doing any background stuff. It's just literally going to be a gradient and that's it for the background, so that will kind of speed us up a touch. But yeah, we've got to do a lot of shading stuff, so we'll kind of get into that. And yeah, once we get into this second area of shading, that's whenever we're probably going to touch more on lost the train of thought. Happens to me a lot. But yeah, at that point, that's whenever we're going to start touching on our lighting a little bit more, and we're probably going to talk a lot about that, in theory. Maybe not. You know, It's funny how a little while ago I mentioned about the lengths of these videos, or the length of the recordings at least, and the lengths of the recordings, naturally, differ quite massively from the length of the videos. And yeah, like it's funny to say that because the Spider-Man video is a lot shorter than the Batman video, even though the Spider-Man recording was 10 minutes longer. But yeah, it's just a lot of these things don't necessarily equate. That's just kind of the point, I suppose, is that yeah, they don't necessarily correlate to the length of the videos, which yeah, you'd expect, because these videos sometimes there's a long period of time where I'm not talking or I'm not saying anything, and yeah, so I do try and kind of choose my words and make sure that what I'm saying is, you know, worth saying. There's no point saying something if it's just words for the sake of words. Didn't mean to get too deep there, but that's kind of the point, I guess, is yeah, there's no point saying something, I find, at least, if you're not going to point to it, because yeah, if you're not going to point to what you're saying, then yeah, there's just really no point saying it. And I understand that I have reiterated that about 3 or 4 times in the last 10 seconds, but you know, that's just how I am, that's just how I talk. Rambly at best. Alright, so now we've got our dot shading done. We're going to start our colours. You know what, I always do this sometimes. That's just how your brain works. Sometimes you say something, I always name it just colour, but since I said colours, that's what I typed. Your brain just does that to you sometimes, it just screws you over. But yeah, just yeah, as a quick thing to say, you might think, because of the way that I've shaded this, that that the light is maybe going to be coming from the left, or yeah, it's either going to be coming from the left or it's going to be straight dead on. Not true. Not actually what's happening. I've just decided to put the dots there because the dots, again, as I said in the Spider-Man video, are a bit more about depth, less so than actual shading itself. They're just there to show the depth of everything, which I think they do a lot better than shading. But yeah, we'll get into these colors. You know, now would actually probably be a good time to introduce this, but a thing I do sometimes is, whenever I'm drawing in a light color, I'll often introduce a background color that I know is not going to be in the piece, because it helps everything to stand out, so that I can just leave that on while I'm drawing, and yeah, have all of my colors go over this. Okay, so yeah, another thing with the kind of the background colors, it just does a lot to kind of make life easier, and just show off everything and make sure I'm not making any silly mistakes or anything that I'll have to fix later. But yeah, a thing I'll do here actually is, just to save my own time, is to put the eyes and teeth on the same layer. Just may as well just call it eyes. Okay, we got one of the harder bits done anyways, with the lips and teeth. So what's next on the agenda? The hair, I think. The hair is the last thing that isn't part of the costume. Well, we have to do the bat as well, but we'll do that. And may as well do that before the rest of the costume. Probably make our lives a little easier just to get those colours out of the way first. Alrighty, now we've got the hair done. Yep, we gotta do the bat, and then we've also got silver to put in. However, that shouldn't take very long because there's not very much of it. But yeah, I feel like the face is kind of looking a little better now that it's coloured. It's not completely coloured, I still got to add in like some more makeup stuff, but that'll take like 5 seconds at the end. Yeah, I'm feeling a little better about the face. I don't know, I guess the colours made it look a little better. Alright, now it's the bulk of the colour. Probably wiser to start out with red, because red, I think there's a little bit less red than there is black. I think there's just a touch more black. Alright, we'll get our red, and we'll go for it. You might be seeing a little bit more what I mean, or what I meant now earlier on, whenever I said this was, or this design is kind of somewhere between the modern design and the original one. In that everything kind of connects still, like the old design, but you get a bit more of the clothes look as opposed to the like costume idea. But yeah, it keeps the kind of spirit of both, I feel like. At least that's what I think, anyways. I feel like it kind of gets the idea of both across. But yeah, usually whenever, or the last time at least, whenever I do this, I went through great effort to make sure that none of the colors, or that red never touched red. But of course, based on the nature of the pose, there's only so much that you can really do whenever you're doing this. Red is going to end up touching red whenever you're doing a pose like this, but I mean, usually it's a case of where like the jacket ends just a little bit before this kind of main body piece ends, so that way the black stops the red from connecting, little stuff like that. But yeah, again, there's only so much you can do whenever you're doing a pose like this. A pose like this usually, or makes it a little bit more difficult to stop any of the colors from connecting. Alright, we've gone through and we've done all red. Now it's time for the black. And yeah, it's after coming back to it here now, actually. A thing which I was thinking whenever I was making this design, the first time at least, was a bit of an odd thing to think of, but yeah, I usually whenever I'm doing a design of my own, I usually try and think of it in terms of practicality, which that's about right. Which, yeah. This is the thing that I was thinking, is that oh, I've made a mistake here actually. I'll do that, I'll fix that in a second. But yeah, one of the things that I was thinking when I was designing is obviously practicality, so I thought to myself, well, it doesn't really, Gotham strikes me as a cold place, so it doesn't really seem all that practical for this design to be for it to be like showing too much, because again, like, it's a cold place. It would just kind of get in the way of doing crimes if you were freezing your ass off all the time, I think, at least. Okay, so we got our colours done, apart from two quick little fixes, or not fixes, but little things that we have to add. So we want to add the makeup. So we'll do that on our, what's that, a clipping mask to the skin, and then we'll grab a watercolor brush and a smoke brush or something like that, so it gives us the impression that we're looking for, at least. We're going to want to make it a bit smaller than that. A little bit bigger than that. Maybe about this big. And then just kind of try and contain it a little bit. Alright, so that is all our colour done, and that means we can actually get rid of this layer. We don't need that. So now we'll do our shading and our lighting, and so we'll be able to get into this part a little bit more now. So we're going to want a white. Well, let's make it pure white actually. And so we'll whack up our brush size a little bit, about maybe that big. That should do us. And we'll turn it down to about 60%. Because we're going to want it to be reasonably intense. So the lighting setup that I have in mind here is, say, maybe there's a light coming from this side and there's a light coming from this side, so that you're getting kind of a dual, like a vague rim light look to it. Nothing quite so intense as rim lighting, but maybe like a vague rim light look. And so since kind of the clothes here would be a kind of a shinier texture, you'll be able to see it a lot more intensely on that, but say on the bat and the hair you wouldn't come across quite as much. I mean, you'll still get the lighting on it obviously, but you won't come across quite as intensely. So we'll kind of get in and see how this looks. This does look quite strange, I feel like. I'm kind of, yeah, definitely experimenting here with this. Because I don't normally do lighting this intense ever, really. Yeah, I don't really normally do lighting this intense. But, I don't know, I'm not too opposed to it. Let's see it from far out. It is quite intense, but I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Well, I need to light the bat a little bit here. Just a touch. It is quite intense. I feel like maybe we should tone it down a touch. I feel like 30% looks right. 30% looks good. Because we are going to be putting a light line on this as well, I should probably say. And that will do a bit for keeping it bright, at least. For keeping the edges bright, at the very least. But yeah, I think that's good. I think that's good for our colours, basically all done now. Let's get in and take a closer look. This screen of mine is so hot right now. Like my hand is sticking to it because it's so warm in here. I need to find a fan or something in this house because Jesus. Oy, oy. Yeah, let me zoom out. Yeah, that looks fine. Yep, right, we'll just throw in our gradient in the background because we don't need to do anything crazy with it. So what we'll do is we'll make it a deep red and a dark purple. A very, very dark purple though. So this way it does stand out quite a bit from her. I feel now with the light line it looks maybe a bit better. Yeah, I think we're getting a bit more of what we want is now that the light line is also on it. We're going to getting a mid-tone, a heavy tone kind of situation. Kind of a, yeah, we've got our middles, our darks, and then our lights. So I feel like, yeah, we're kind of getting that, the contrast that we were looking for from our lighting. That's kind of what I was going for initially, at least. So we'll sign it, and then we'll throw on the texture and our gradient map, and that'll be it. Then we'll be done. Alright, we've got a texture in. Now it is just the gradient map, and then we're done. So I think we're going to go with the same type of gradient map we had with Batman, probably for our darks, kind of a purpley color, like a purpley dark, like almost a bluish purple for our darks, and then for our lights, say, yeah, like a very kind of bright red. And in between, say, like kind of a pinky color. Pinky purple, even. And there, maybe that's even too dark. I want to brighten it up a little bit. Okay, so now let's take a look. Overlay. Overlay looks decent. We don't want this to kind of distract too much though, so I think we're going to go with soft light. What was the other one that I really liked? Vivid light, maybe? Oh, that looks interesting. Multiply looks interesting. Okay, so I believe that's us done. Yeah, I believe so. I believe we're done. So yeah, that's again, still don't really have an outro. I keep almost saying intro every time I say that, but yeah, don't really have an outro still. Yeah, so I suppose if you like the video, do whatever. I keep saying that. This recording was what, nearly 3 hours, this one, so this is easily the longest in terms of recording, but in terms of the actual video, it'll probably be about the same length as the others. Who knows? But yeah, I am almost certainly going to have to peel myself out of this chair, just like I said earlier on.